Welcome back to our last episode of On the Line. Before we get into cross-country season, it's Tuesday, July 25th. I'm Corey Mull here with Olivia Ekpene and Ashley Tishins. On today's show, we're going to dive more into the AAU Junior Olympic Games, which is set to take place from July 29th to August 5th in Des Moines, Iowa. Now, a quick aside, we haven't done this in a while, but if you listen to our show routinely, can you just do us a favor and follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts? We appreciate all of our listeners, and we're surprised often when we see you out at events and you're like, hey, we see your podcast all the time, and we're like, really? Yes. So it always surprises us, but we are so thankful that you tune in and you listen to us. It would be amazing if you could check off that follow button, follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and continue to support us on those platforms. It would do a world of wonders. Now, today, we're going to jump into specific matchups, our perceived top races at AAU Junior Olympics, and even some hypotheticals. This is On the Line, and let's get started. All right, hypothetical number one. We're going to be taking... This Monday, we talked in our weekly meeting about AAU legends. How would the AAU versions of today's legends fare against our current AAU athletes? So our first hypothetical is going to be 12-year-old Brandon Miller, circa 2014, versus 12-year-old Patricio Pardo in 2023. I'm going to go to Ashley first because she started the Patricio craze.
Yes.
So I'll go to Ashley first.
Yes, so this is, if you were to put Brandon Miller, who we all know is one of the GOATs of AAU, versus Patricio Pardo, who's come on as this sensation at the youth levels in AAU over the past year or so. It's an interesting argument here. I think I'm going to have to go with Brandon Miller here, but I'll explain. If you look back, so back in 2014 as a 12-year-old, Miller, he ran 2:03.09 for 800 and 4:22.84 for the 1500. But, Pardo's also become a star of his own, and, he has gone 4:38 in the 1500 meters this year as a 12-year-old ahead of the Junior Olympics, and he's going to enter as the top seed in that event this year. Now, if I'm looking at this, I think the argument comes down to Miller's very much more speed oriented. He's really that middle distance runner that, that he has that strength to really gut out a fast 800. Whereas I think Pardo, the longer he goes, the better he gets. I mean, he looked phenomenal in that 3K last year against Victor Jaime Solorio. And so I think I definitely have to go with Miller here in the 800, 1500 in that range. But then if you go any longer than that, up to that 3K, I think Pardo has to be the winner there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Interesting take on that one.
Let's lighten up a little bit. I feel like that was serious Ashley, talking as if this was happening.
Ashley was very into it.
Yeah,
I loved
How
it, though.
do you feel? No, I'm just kidding. Olivia.
So I agree with everything that Ashley said. You can't take away anything that Brandon Miller has accomplished. He's just exceeded from the start of his AAU career all the way to what he's doing now. But you guys, I might be biased, but I'm Team Patricio, all day, all the way. And here are my reasons. So last year was the first time he's ever competed at the AAU Junior Olympic Games, and he towed the line with confidence. And reason number two is he knows how to compete against stiff competition. And as Ashley mentioned, he had a lineup against Victor, who's just been AAU stud since he hit the scenes there. And even just looking at what Patricio has done, from his very first year running, which was 2021, he ran 5:06 in the 1500, dropped to 4:44 last year, and then 4:36 this year at the International Youth Championships in mid-July. And same thing with the 800, went from 2:32 back in 2021, dropped to 2 minutes 19 seconds last year, and then this year he's at 2:18. So I feel like every time that he steps on the line, we're going to see something special from him, and it's just the beginning of his career. And Brandon Miller just had just kind of looking at the age difference here. Brandon Miller had 4 years of experience leading up to 2014. So the fact that Patricio just kind of went out there and grabbed a title at his first time doing AAU is something special. So I'm Team Patricio for those reasons.
Well, Patricio is an animal.
Yes.
I do think Patricio is amazing, and when we see him, he's got his fan group. They're out there going, Patricio!
I love that. Can't wait.
Love it. I mean, he's very good.
Yeah.
At this age, though, I think you have to keep in mind, though, too, it's kind of the inflection point, I think, for young boys who are taking the sport seriously or maybe not, not so. Brandon Miller at 12 years old was there. Like, he was at the point where he's going to turn the corner very, very quickly. And it happened. At 13, he ran 156 in the 800. At 14, he broke a world age group record with a 151 800. So from 12 to 14, he really just shifted, like totally in gear. He hit that clock. So I think at 12, he's really developing his identity, the culture of his personality. And you look at it right there. That's when he was 13, but like, he's not physically imposing yet, but he's just so competitive. Now, if I were to put 12-year-old Brandon versus 12-year-old Patricio, gotta go with my boy Brandon. I saw him out there in St. Louis when he was 16 and getting his driver's license. I've known this kid for like 8 years now. He's always been driven and very just concentrated and focused on the goal ahead. So if he faced anybody in front of him, he was gonna make sure that he beat them. So hard to beat Brandon Miller at 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever. He was a good athlete that, we'll remember, and he's an AAU legend for it. So good thought exercise there, but we got one more coming up. That is 14-year-old Tamari Davis, circa 2017, versus Indya Mayberry this year in the 100 Mayberry class of 2024. She's going to be there at the AAU Junior Olympics here in Iowa. Should be a good run for her. So who wins? Olivia, let's go to you.
Great question, because I feel like it's going to be a blanket finish if we're looking at the 100. Just looking at what Tamari Davis did at 14 years old. She ran a win legal 11:65, had a win dated personal best of 11:48. Indya Mayberry clocked an 11:73 this year. Now, the 200, Tamari Davis owns that with a 23:65. Indya Mayberry just barely dipped under that 24-second barrier with a 23:99. But I feel like Tamari Davis at that point in her career had more strength. So I'm going to kind of shift my gears, and I feel like Tamari Davis is going to be that. If it was hypothetically, I think Tamari Davis would have won, whether it's the 100 or the 200. And Tamari Davis that year, just to take into consideration, she won the AAU title with that 11:48 win-aided best, and then 23:65, and pretty much was undefeated in both sprints events that year, which is super spectacular. Indya has that experience from AAU. She was 4th last year in the 100 and the 200. So again, just another individual coming back and looking to gain more experience and potentially grab that gold medal. But hypothetically, I think Tamari Davis is going to grab the win here by ever so slightly margin.
Ever so slightly, not
yes.
Not
well, like I said, it depends on the race. If we're talking the 100, I think it's going to be close. But 200, Tamari definitely has a little bit more strength of where she was back then.
Interesting. I wonder where the AI puts her. Ashley, your thoughts?
All right, I think I got to go with Tamari Davis here, just because, if you look at her at 14 years old, I feel like she already had that it factor, especially when she was just 14. As Olivia mentioned, she won both the 100 and the 200 at AAU JOs in 11:48, win dated in 23:65. But those are also, I believe, I was looking back at the AAU national records for each age group, and those both are still records that she set there that still stand today for the 14-year-old age group. And so I feel like, Davis just she had something special. She's an all-timer at AAU, all-timer in high school at those sprint events. And even at 14, I feel like it's definitely hard to match her. I mean, kudos to Indya Mayberry. She's still having an incredible season for her. But I think if you were to put those two against each other, I'd put my money on Davis.
I agree. I don't think it's even a question. And for me, talent knows no age. Whether Tamari's 14, she could have went up against that 18-year-old girl in 2017 and still won that race. That's how good she was. Mm-hmm. Consider those times that, Olivia, you mentioned already, 11:48 and 23:65. In those two races, she beat, in the 100, Morafan Abiniswa more than a half of a second. In the 100, she beat her by more than a half a second. Morafan ran 12:07. Tamari was at 11:48. In the 200, 23:65 for Tamari. Sarah Wakes was 24:71, so she beat her by over a second at 14. Just demolishing the fields at that age. I mean, so age to me knows talent knows no age. And I think it's continued. Her career wasn't a flash. She just ran at USA Outdoors. She ran 10.99 to qualify for the World Championships. I mean, last year she ran 10.7, 10.8, 10.87. She was 4th at USA. She competed in Hungary and Switzerland. I mean, her career is off and running. And I think, it began at AU. She was the type of athlete that we will not see very often, just very, very special. And I hope her career continues to blossom there at the international ranks. Okay, so we're going to go to the specific events themselves. We're going to move over to the sprint events. Next weekend, we're going to watch some awesome stuff happen at AU. But let's start with the girls and boys race. Starting first with the girls, let's talk about the 15, 16-year-old 400 meters featuring the likes of Taylor Nunez, Michaelin Rose, and Cameron Tatum. What do we got here, Olivia?
There's a lot going on. I feel like this 400 meter, I'm assuming all three of these ladies are going to make it into that final, and it's going to be absolutely nuts. And I feel like each individual has their own strength. But I want to first talk about Taylor Nunez. We're a huge fan of her. She hasn't run 55 seconds since her season opener in April. So I'm pretty sure if I'm Taylor, I'm looking to improve on that, just knowing a few months have gone by. And she's probably working on that strength work right now. So, however, she has been owning the short sprints in that 100 and the 200. She became the UIL outdoor state champion in the 100, 200, and also that long jump. So I'm curious to see how this 400 plays out, especially at this national level. Now, the last time she's actually ran the 400 meters at AAU was back in 2019. And, since then she was third in the 100 and was the champion in the 200 back in 2021. So she's looking to earn more medals to add to her showcase. Now, Michaelin Rose, sister of Michaela Rose, all of her 400 meters this season have been sub 59 seconds. And so her fastest time going into the AAU Junior Olympic Games is 55.77, which she ran recently at her district qualifier. So as I've mentioned on the show previously, if you're hitting those fast times towards the end of the season as you're going into these championships, that means you're pretty much, firing away and getting really tuned up. So the fact that Michaelin Rose has done that is super spectacular. But also, you cannot forget, as Corey mentioned, Cameron Tatum, who has gone 55.28 to win the freshman race at New Balance National Outdoors. And recently, she set a personal best of 54.96 at her regional qualifier. So again, another athlete that has towed the line, put a best mark out, leading into the championships towards the games. I know the confidence level is very high, and it's going to be very competitive for sure.
Quick pick.
Cameron Tatum.
Okay.
Right off the top of my head right there.
That was easy.
54.9.
Ashley.
All right, looking at this field, she may not be the top seed, but I would not count out Michaelin Rose here. As Olivia already mentioned, there's a lot of history here with the Rose family, especially at AAU. She's the sister of Michaela Rose, who just won the 800 at, the NCAA Outdoor Championships a couple months ago. And she was really, one of the greatest when it came to that 800, 400 meter hurdle unique double at the Junior Olympics when she was, in middle school and high school as well. So I really do think Michaelin could carry on that winning tradition. She recently clocked 55.77 just a few weeks ago, looking to qualify for the AAU Junior Olympics. And she's also one that she has great range across multiple events. And she's just a rising sophomore. She's also clocked 2:15.22 for the 800 and has also jumped over 39 feet in the triple jump and then 65 seconds for the 400 meter hurdle. So she can kind of do it all in the field and on the track. And so I think the Rose family, they're full of athletes, as you can see. And so I think when it boils down to it, maybe she'll be, motivated even more to win that 400 meters.
Is she your quick pick?
Yes.
Okay. I honestly do think the 400's any female's game. When I looked at the top 6 down the line in seed, all of them are capable of winning. The one that's underrated right now is Angel Brefo of Midlothian Heritage. She's actually run 54.37 and 54.76. The fastest of anyone right now in that age group. But Jaya Patillo of Iowa, hometown girl, 54.9. Cameron Tatum, as you said, 54.9. Madison Brister of Georgia, 55.56. And Rose and Nunez. Nunez, I tend to think, probably has that talent, bump that these other girls, are chasing after, because Nunez is top 10 in our recruiting rankings for the class of 2025. So whether she's stronger at 100 and 200, I still believe she's capable in the 400. And I think, when it comes to championship races, athletes like that tend to shine. But when we look at the 400, sometimes it's just a matter of fitness and who's just better overall. So if I'm looking at that, I'm looking at the numbers. I'm going to go with Brefo of Midlothian, 54.37 from the state championships in 5A. She was second runner-up there. So, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt here and see if she can pull out a win. So that's the pick there in the girls 400. Let's move to the boys 100 meters 15-16 division. In some ways, we all feel this could be the event of the week. We have AAU Junior Olympics coming up here in Iowa. The likes of Jaden Finley, Justin McDonald, Braden Williams, Kendrick Jones, Terrence Mahomes, and Evan Boykin are all in the mix here. Ashley, let's start off with you. What do you think?
I am very excited for this race. I think it's going to be one of the most competitive races of the entire meet, and our guy, Kendrick Jones, is going to be headlighting this field here in the 15-1600. And, we saw him last year at JO's in Greensboro, and he was probably one of the athletes of the meet as a 14-year-old. He won this event last year and set a national record, I believe, of 10:76 en route to that win. Also set national records in the 200 and the long jump as well. So he had a spectacular showing last year. And then, this year as a freshman, competing for Lake Belton, he won the Texas 5A state championship in the 200 meters. And so now he's going to return to the Junior Olympic Games now in an older age group, hoping to grab yet another win. But he's not the only elite guy that is going to be in this field. I'm also really curious about Terrence Mahomes, who we haven't seen much of. He only competed indoors this season, represented Bullis School, but he won the freshman 60 meters indoors at New Balance Nationals, and he's the cousin of Patrick Mahomes, so there's definitely, athleticism runs in the family there. And I also wouldn't count out our guy who's the top seed in this event. That's going to be Jaden Finley. He actually beat Jones this year in the 100 at the Texas State Championships. He got third while Jones earned fourth. And so Finley knows what it's going to take to beat Jones on a big stage. And so overall, I think, a lot of guys are in this mix here.
Do we feel like the bar is too high for Mahomes to come in and immediately find success? Because if you haven't run the 100 at all, at least from what we can see, that kind of puts you at a disadvantage.
Yeah, that's true. But I do feel like, we can't put unfair expectations on him, but maybe keep in mind, don't be surprised if he does something pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I don't think he won a national indoor freshman title, so
yeah,
that's enough on its own. Olivia, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, Ashley and I are pretty much on the same wavelength. I wrote down bring out the popcorn for this because I'm really excited for this lineup, and I feel like it's so deep in the fact that just even from the qualifying meet, there are 5 boys that have gone sub 10.8 seconds. Ashley mentioned Kendrick Jones. I feel like he's probably one of the heavy favorites. I remember being in the stadium last year for the AAU Junior Olympic Games when he broke all 3 national records, and everyone kind of just went crazy bonkers over this kid. They were like, where is he from? Who is this kid? We need to know him. And the fact that he just continued to exceed his freshman season and also winning a Nike 100-meter title also, he's probably already feels that confidence in him, and he probably is like, okay, now I just need to defend my title, right? And so Ashley did mention Jaden Finley. I'm actually really curious to just see what he does here at the AAU Junior Olympic Games. He's run 9 100-meter races, and half of them, I feel so bad, have been all wind dated. So you gotta love the Texas winds here. But this guy has been consistently running 10.4 seconds, and I really think he can put something special together in Des Moines. And as he's just unfolding his career in track and field, he's going to be looking to earn that All-American status at the games. So don't count out Jaden Finley there either. I know he has the fastest seed time, but I feel like as he gains more experience, he can really put his name out there too.
The things that work in Jones's favor are essentially his wins from last year, his ability to run multiple events. I mean, his success in the 200 and the long jump, but I think the 100 is probably his weakest event of all 3, if I had to guess. I still do think he is the favorite, but he could get beat here. And I'll offer another athlete, too, besides Finley, who I both agree with you on. I mean, I think he has a shot. But Justin McDonald, I saw him at Adidas Outdoor Nationals. He ran 10.57, win legal to win the freshman title there at Adidas. That's very fast. That puts him in the hunt here at the very least. I think he's the guy who has untapped potential that we have not seen yet. And I do believe as he gets stronger, he's going to get faster. Been a month or so since Adidas. What can he offer here at AAU? I think it could be a win. Evan Boykin, I gotta mention my guy Evan Boykin. Wears the
Yes.
goggles. Love watching him run. He's a very energetic guy, and I think he takes this sport very, very seriously. He also ran 10.56 at Adidas in the prelims, so I think he's capable to be there in the hunt as well. And then more on Mahomes. Just, do we feel like he's gonna bring like the swag? You know,
Absolutely.
I think at New Balance he had the sunglasses maybe, or the hair. Like he brought a little bit of the swag that, you know, Patrick Mahomes has been known to have. So maybe it runs in the family or something. I don't know, but we'll find out.
We'll be on the lookout.
We'll be on the lookout.
I
for
vote
Mahomes.
yes, for the
Yes.
swag.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, last segments are the distance events. We're going to start first with the boys, 15, 16-year-old 800, featuring Jonathan Sims, Altavian Grant, Drew Johnson, Stefan Duda, and Josh Gamage. I think this is going to be a fun race here too. Ashley, let's start with you.
Well, let's start with this. We all know here at MileSplit, we are huge Jonathan Sims fans, and I feel like we have been for quite some time. You know, he's been competing at the Junior Olympics since he was a young kid, and, you know, if you're looking at his history, you know, he has a lot of history here at the 800 meters. He owns national records for AAU JOs for the 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and 12-year-old divisions. But most people now probably know him as more of like a 400-meter specialist. He went 45.90 this season for one of the top times in the country. And, you know, he hasn't actually competed, you know, in a season fully in the 800 since 2021. So now he's deciding to make this shift here in 2023 at JOs to return to the 800 meters and still run the 400 as well. You know, in his first 800 meter race in 2 years earlier this summer, he clocked 156.16, and that came at the AAU Southwestern District qualifier. He would then go on to run 155 at the Region 18 qualifier. So for someone that he's been focusing more on that 400 and even down to the 200 to then pull out a 155, I feel like that's pretty impressive. And, you know, he's going to be the favorite here, I think, going into this event. And so I'm really curious to see what he does here.
All right, I have a side question for both of you. Why do we think he's doing the 800? Do we think it's because he or his coaches and him believe he's a 4 or 8 guy in the future and he's trying to start working toward that? Or is this basically a little bit of overtraining to get stronger for the 2 and the 1 and the 4, or the 2 and the 4?
I feel like because he has so much history, it's like, I wonder if he almost feels like he wants to do it.
Yeah.
Like he's just, you know.
You won't. I mean, it is a good opportunity.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah.
So that's my pick. I think he's just like, hey, why not?
Yeah,
You know, I've broken national records before, so why not? You know.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And then I also, you know, I feel like sometimes it's more uncommon to see that 4 800 runner, but I feel like even this year in the high school level, at least, we've seen some more of those. Like who comes to mind is like Kai Ricks, you know, like he could run 46 in the 4, but then he ran 149 in the 800. So maybe, because again, he's going to be a junior next year, Sims is. So maybe it's like, okay, maybe as I become an upperclassman, maybe we can push for that 400, 800 in the future. Maybe this is a test run. I don't know. We'll see.
I like that. Test run. Okay.
run.
Opportunity test run.
Yes.
Olivia, what are your additional thoughts here?
My additional thoughts. Well, I want to stick on Jonathan Sims very briefly again. I know Ashley just gave you the whole rundown. I had to count how many times this guy has won a national title. 14 times. National champion at the AAU Junior Olympic Games. That is absolutely insane. So this guy, when Ashley talks about history, this guy has history at the AAU Junior Olympic Games. However, there's one athlete in particular that he's going to have to face that I'm a fan of, and that is Drew Johnson. He is actually the defending champion in the 800, and he ran a 156. And just this season alone, Drew has produced 8 sub 2-minute 800-meter performances as a freshman, and he's also from North Carolina, so I knew Ashley would love that. And he's clocked a personal best of 155 from his region qualifier. So he has the strength. He won his first AAU title in the 1500 back in 2019. He's the defending champion, like I said, at this distance now. And he has that 51-second 400-meter speed. So I can see Jonathan Sims getting a challenge from Drew Johnson. It's definitely going to be a foot race, I feel like, in this final.
I think Sims, will come in with a good chance to improve on that time.
Yeah.
And he is a guy, ever since he was younger and we first saw him, used to believe that like he wanted to be the next Brandon Miller. Like he saw the example of Brandon Miller and he was inspired by that and he kind of aimed for it. Now, Jonathan's just doing his thing.
Yeah.
Jonathan has carved out his own path. He doesn't need to be anybody or follow anybody's path. He's closer to following, to be honest, Aldrich Bailey of Texas, who owns the state record there, 45.19, because Jonathan ran 45.9 himself. So I do think he's closer to that sprint side of things than the 800, but I don't think that necessarily thinks he won't be in contention for a win here. If anything, I think some of these guys might be intimidated by Sims.
I'd be intimidated.
On the line. If
it doesn't matter what event he'd be in. I would be intimidated.
You look at his profile.
Exactly. The history's there.
He's the guy.
But not just that, but like, look at him. He's 6'2". He's tall. He's strong. He's bigger than all these guys that he's going to be on the line against. I mean, he's intimidating. And him running 45, I think he's going to carry out the race. I do think he's the type that will try to carry out this 800, which will put some of these guys maybe in a different place. You know, especially you just mentioned, Drew Johnson. Saw him at Adidas. I think Drew Johnson wants to run well here. Altavian Grant, Heath Grant. I think all those guys, we're going to have to match Sims. But the guy I think ultimately that I'm going to pick to win is going to be Stefan Dudo of Philadelphia. You know, be reminded here, he ran 152 in April. He ran 153 at New Balance, not in the championship division, but 153, and he won his division at AAU last year. So he's the guy who comes back and is the defending champion of the last division. I think this race is going to come down to the last 100 meters, as high school races often do. So, they come often too. So I think for me, Stefan wins this race, and he kind of outlasts everybody else. Any thoughts on overall winners? Are you picking Sims?
I'm picking Johnson.
You're picking Johnson?
Oh, I'm picking Sims.
All right, so we got 3 different picks here for the 800.
I like it.
It's definitely going to be a fun race to watch. We'll see what happens here at AAU. Last and final subject here on the line is the 15, 16-year-old girls 3000. Seemingly 2-girl race with 2 females, Charlize Trinity McKenzie and Allison Johnson, out for it. They're both seated under 10 minutes, separated by just a second. Who wins out? Let's start with Ashley.
Well, I know I talked about her on last week's show, but I'm a big fan of Charlize Trinity McKenzie, and I think she's going to grab this win here. You know, this year, she's been a breakout star. She's from Cedarburg High School in Wisconsin. She was the AAU Junior Olympic champion in the 1,500 meters in 2022, and she's coming off a phenomenal 800 performance, actually. That's where she spent a lot of her time competing. You know, this spring season, she clocked 2:08.21 at the USATF U20 Championships, and I believe that earned her 3rd place there, but she has some range. She's the top seed in this 3K here for the 15, 16-year-old. She's gone 9:58.13. She clocked that at the Region 13 qualifier. So, even though she has more of that middle distance speed, she's proven that she can run up from the middle distances. Even looking back at her cross-country resume from last fall, she has an 18:17 5K PR from her freshman season. So I think she could be someone that maybe you necessarily don't think, hey, she's going to go out here and run this insane 3K. But I personally, if you look at that history there, I think she could, potentially do something really special.
All right, we got Charlize for Ashley's mind. Olivia, where do you see it?
Charlize is a really nice pick. I'm a huge fan of her. I cannot wait. She's just been having a standout season, as Ashley pretty much has alluded to, just doing amazing things. And she has the experience as well. I want to give some attention to Allison Johnson because that's the next girl up in line just based off their regional performance, 9:59 for that 3K. And she's also been running well. She's from Creekside High School out in Florida, and I believe to Allison's advantage here, she showcases a lot of strength when it comes to these distance events. She's gone 9:52 at her regional meet. She's also 4:52 miler, 10:23 in the 3200, so she has that strength. She's also the Florida State champion in the 1600 and the 32, so she's probably thinking, I'm going to cap off the season on a very strong note, and what better way than to compete against Charlize, who's going to really push you to be the best athlete you can be. So it's going to be a great, I think, 2-woman race. Might see some people try to hang in there for those first few laps, but it's definitely going to come down to these 2 young talents.
I think the third girl that might hang on is Olivia Holbrook of Campbell County. She's gone 10:35 for 3K, and that's only if the race is over 10 minutes because in a championship race like this, it could go either way. It could go really fast or it could go tactical, which will put them closer to 10:10 or 10:20. Record here, I believe, is 9:40, which is ridiculous. It's very fast. Hopefully they go closer to that. And if I had to guess, I would say it goes under 10 minutes. Do both of you agree on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's going to go under 10.
Okay, so I think then, for me, when you look at Allison Johnson and Charlize Trinity McKenzie, I look at the comparable time, the closest comparable time beyond that 3K, and it's basically the 1600 of the mile, and I think Allison Johnson is far and away better than Charlize at this point, 452. She just has a little bit different fitness. Speed is one thing at the 800, but if you have that at the mile, I think it helps enable you, I think, at those higher distances. So Allison Johnson, for me, probably I would tend to pick her over Charlize, but it's going to be a battle. As we said, it's going to be these two girls matching up. We'll see what they can do in the final lap. Maybe it gets crazy. Maybe it's a epic AU match.
Oh,
and,
man.
You know, we could put it on social media and go, hey, what's up? This is awesome. Okay, cool. Any other final thoughts you have? Any desserts this time around, Olivia or
This
Ashley?
should have been Ashley's turn.
I know. I kind of
Ashley.
forgot. I dropped the ball there, but
right.
no desserts this time.
Okay, good. I don't need desserts. Messi plays today, Tuesday.
Oh,
Leagues
goodness.
Cup. We got LA Galaxy. We got them on Wednesday. A lot of MLS action happening along with track. So thank you for watching this episode of On the Line. We will be back in August for cross-country season as we unveil the MileSplit 50, top 50 teams, top 50 individuals. It's going to be wild. So stay tuned for all that cross-country coverage and more. See ya.